Hi, John. Hi, Steve. Let's talk about Canada's real estate market and your forecast for the year ahead. In 2024, we saw rates come down. Set it up for us. What does the new year look like from your vantage point, Steve?
I think it's going to be another mixed market. I think we saw that this year where most of the weakness was in the condo segment, particularly around the investor market. And I think I foresee that the same thing playing out in 2025, which is I think that the investor market's going to continue to be under strain. I think we're still seeing a lot of issues that are going to come to fruition in the pre-construction market. A lot of people that overpaid, they're going to have issues closing or appraisals that are going to come up short. But I still see some strength and some tightness in pockets of the market, particularly the end user market. Your entry level single family house, your entry level 3 bedroom townhouse, where all these families are desperate to get into more space. I think those markets are going to perform just fine. So it'll really just a matter of what you're looking to buy or sell.
John, and from your perspective, what do things look like in the GTA?
Yeah, we're seeing very similar trends as Steve highlighted in the GTA. I think 2025 is going to be an interesting year because, we're very used to seeing the housing market, whether it's low-rise condos moving in the same direction. And I think next year we could very easily see those markets diverge. As Steve said, the condo market remaining pretty sluggish with new completions on the horizon, investors exiting and a low rise market that is somewhat competitive and relatively busy. So I suspect we're going to see those two markets diverge a little bit next year.
A lot of federal government policy changes in 2024. What is the impact in 2025? Maybe starting off with that population boom that we've been seeing over the last few years, and what that impact might look like to housing, Steve, on the West Coast.
Yeah, I think on the population side, I think the challenge here is everybody's having difficulties measuring the numbers in real time. I think I look at the indicators in our market, which is anytime you talk to a rental man or property manager, they're all telling you the same thing, which is rents are declining and vacancies are moving higher. So it says to me that I think that people might already be leaving, and there's already this sort of softness that's starting to develop in the rental market. And so it'll be interesting to sort of see if we actually get, these millions of people that are here that are supposed to be leaving. If they actually do in fact leave, will that put more downwards pressure on the rental market? I think that's something to sort of keep an eye on.
John, what are you seeing in Toronto?
Yeah, very similar. I don't think we can take these changes lightly. If the federal government goes ahead with their changes to Canada's population growth, we're going to have zero growth for 2 years and potentially negative growth in an environment where we're still building 200,000 homes. And this is very likely going to put pressure on rents because most of the decline in our populations, or virtually all of it's going to be in non-permanent residents. Those people tend to rent. Which again feeds into this idea that it's going to be harder to be an investor in Canada's housing market in the years ahead. Like not only are prices leveling off, but rents may very well be declining as well.
If I'm hearing the both of you accurately, it seems like 2025 is really going to be a story about the condo market, the rental market. Steve, do you think that's what's going to dominate?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, when I look at leading indicators like how are pre-construction sales doing, they're terrible. Not only in the GTA, which I'm sure John can talk about, but I look in Vancouver and they're hovering near 10-year lows. And so pre-sales, if you can't launch pre-sales, it tells me that there's no investors that are active to purchase them. And that means no new housing gets built. And it's kind of this vicious cycle. But yeah, I think that given where population growth is moving, given where the number of units that are currently under construction, I think we're probably okay on the supply side for the next year or two. But as you start moving further and further out, I think that's where we'll start to see some things developing.
There were a lot of conversations about buyers on the sidelines waiting for rates to come down in order to jump into that market. What kind of a market will it be spring of 2025? Is it a buyer's market, a seller's market? John?
Yeah, I think demand's going to pick up, especially for low-rise single-family homes. There are definitely some buyers who are sitting on the sidelines. The mortgage rule changes for insured mortgages that the federal government put out, increasing amortizations, increasing the limit, that's going to put more buyers into the market. So we're probably going to have a busier market. I don't think it's going to be an insane market. Like, I don't think we're going to go back to 10% year over year price growth. It's going to be busier. Again, low rise is going to be busier. The condo market is probably going to remain sluggish.
Over the course of the past few years, we've seen all kinds of policy address foreign buyers, investors in general, which has pushed that segment out of the market. Do we want to see investors come back in, Steve?
I think it's going to be challenged for the foreseeable future. I think that a lot of them have been scarred not only by interest rates surging by 500 basis points, but I think what we're seeing is the tenancy laws in BC continue to shift more and more in favor of tenants. You're hearing all these horror stories about getting people out, and I think yeah, your variable rate mortgage goes up 500 basis points and you have no ability to raise the rent. It forced a lot of actually investors into a must sell situation. And so I think that's really going to hamper the psychology moving forward. And then the other thing is like, a lot of these investors were speculating and they were speculating on higher prices. And I think we're in an environment here, again, at least for the foreseeable future, where it's hard to really see price growth or a lot of price growth in that condo segment. So, I mean, how do you entice them back into the market? I think it's going to be a challenge. And so I think that's why, the pre-sale market's going to probably struggle next year at least.
John, I'm going to let you jump in on that. Do we want the investors back into the market?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, the investors are the reason why condo prices kind of hit the level they're at and no one can afford them. At the end of the day, pre-con condo prices were selling at 30-40% more than resale prices. And the only people basically making that bet were investors who were speculating on higher prices. So I don't necessarily think it took us to a good place. It took us to a place now where sales have crashed. So, ideally, we want to have a market that is fueled by fundamentals and by what people can actually afford, rather than having, our market fueled by this speculative mood of investors, because it pushes condo prices and house prices higher than they otherwise would be. So I think we want a market that's more balanced in the future.